Story 1. This was a planned baby and I'm absolutely devastated. Me and my husband met in college and have been married for 6 years now. We have one son who is now 4 years old. I know some people are gonna wonder, but yes, we did discuss our moral, political views before even getting engaged. And we're both pro-choice. When we were 21 and 20, we made a stupid mistake that ended in a pregnancy. We were both flat broke and not at all ready for kids. I decided to terminate, and he fully agreed with and supported me. He loves our son so much and is an amazing father. He confided in me that he loved the idea of having a daughter as well. Luckily, we're in a good financial place, so I agreed. And we started trying for a second baby. We conceived fairly quickly and were overjoyed. We also soon discovered that we're having a girl. My husband was so excited. As soon as he was told, he went all out and started to plan her nursery. He asked our son to help him pick which shade of pink he wanted, which crib to get, what the theme should be, etc. It was all so adorable. I don't want to reveal any personal medical history, so forgive me for being vague with the descriptions. At our last doctor's visit a few days ago, we were given the news that our daughter has severe birth defects. They think that she would survive the birth, but any life that she gets to experience will be painful for her. There have been medical cases of babies with the same conditions to survive from early childhood to even the teenagers rarely. These poor children suffer with so much pain and the uncomfortable their entire lives. They are very low functioning and need around-the-clock care, as well as several uncomfortable surgeries to try and give them a better quality of life. We were both heartbroken and cried for hours together in the car. Then we drove home in silence. Neither of us said anything until my husband began to quietly mumble his thoughts. He was going on and on about how we needed to schedule another doctor's appointment, so we know what medical equipment we'd need to buy for her. And we should renovate the nursery again so we could care for her more easily. He said that he definitely have to talk to his boss so he can take a longer paternal leave. He wants to be by her side in the NICU until we can take her home. He talked about how we'd have to ask his mom to babysit our son more often while she's a newborn. He even said that maybe we could sell one of our cars, move to a smaller house, and take our son out of private schools so we'd have more money to pay for our daughter's care. I was silent until he asked me what I thought. I was blunt and said that I think we should terminate the pregnancy. Now I feel bad for saying it that way, but I was still frazzled from the news. This made him very upset. He began to cry and ask why I don't want our daughter. Even with disabilities, I mentioned our previous abortion. He said it was different because it was unplanned, and we had no way to take care of the child. Now, we're in a pretty good place financially, so theoretically we could shoulder the cost of our daughter. I have a bit of personal history with this type of situation. My best friend in high school was at my house all the time because her parents were way too busy with her severely autistic older brother. They did love her, but she was pushed to the side her entire childhood. I told him this story. He said that we'd do better by our son and daughter. My best friend's parents were stupid for having a second kid after they already had a disabled one. He then seemed hopeful for a minute and asked if I was just afraid. He promised that he'd be by my side the whole time and we could do this together. I told him it's not about fear. Our daughter will be in pain constantly if she's born alive. It would be a short and painful life for her. I love this baby so much already. I don't want her to suffer like that. He began to yell that even if she doesn't live long, we could still pour our hearts and souls into making her life as fulfilling as possible. I didn't respond and he stormed inside. It's been a couple days now and he won't even look me in the eyes. He sits in the new nursery for hours. Our son is very confused. I know he's grieving, but I really don't want to go further with this pregnancy. I love him so much. I have no idea what to do now.
First comment.
Sorry for the awful choice you and your family are facing. No one can tell you what to do with regard to keeping or terminating. However, you and your husband need to realize that this is an emotional as well as practical decision. You and your husband need to discuss it. Finally, you may need to come to terms with the fact that this may be the end of your marriage. If you cannot agree, as both decisions will be fraught with guilt, recriminations, blame, and pain. Even if you eventually agree on a course of action, you will need to work through the aftermath. Start now before you decide. Finally, if you've learned nothing else from Reddit, You need to recognize your choice will also dramatically impact your son and his quality of life. If you and your husband divert time, attention, and money to support your daughter, will you have anything left for your son? Your entire lives will revolve around your daughter and, by definition, at the expense of your son. Countless threads on Reddit recount the miserable lives of siblings and their parents ignore them in favor of sick siblings. Everything will be about the sick child. Your son's entire childhood will be about living with a sick sibling. Are you prepared to sacrifice your son, potentially for years? For your baby, find counseling to help you and your husband address the situation, so you can communicate and recognize that you may ultimately have mutually exclusive needs and raise. And that's okay. There may not be a solution where everyone is satisfied.
Second comment.
Lived this through my sibling. The stress of the situation eats away everything else. My sibling is an adult now, but all our lives still revolve around their condition. I work as a carer for them, so less need for outsiders. Cause the constant presence of other people in the family home was stressful as well. It's definitely not easy life. And taken that if it is for the rest of their life, my sibling is 21 now, they'll never get better. And they have close to normal life expectancy.
Third comment.
I don't think your husband has a realistic view of what it's like to watch your child suffer. I promise you, no one would choose that for someone they love. Can you find any stories online from people who've had children with this condition? Maybe he can hear what it was like for the child, the parents, and the siblings. Story 2. Is this fair for my 38M husband 40F to ask of me? My husband and I relocated to another province in 2020. Due to his work, he makes quite a lot more than me, 700 to 800k versus my 100k. We were unmarried at the time of our move. He is at least 1.5 million savings, and I have 300k in retirement savings. Our accounts are completely separate. When we first moved, he had told me he would pay for the bulk of the household expenses: rent, my car, groceries, electricity. As we progressed in our relationship, got engaged, he informed me he didn't feel comfortable paying for the majority of the household expenses anymore, and that I should contribute. No problem. I took on my car payments, groceries, internet bill and electricity bill, $2,000 month. I also do 100% of household chores. He cuts the grass and may take out the garbage once in a while. Nothing else. He put a large down payment on a house and pays the full mortgage, car and house insurance. And dinners out till $3,400 month. When we go home, every 6 months he spends money on food. $1,000 week, but he is a compulsive saver. He won't spend any money on himself and does not buy me birthday, Christmas, anniversary gifts. I also have bought almost everything needed for our first child. Now, we are married and have a 6-month-old child. He told me when I first got pregnant that I need to keep up with all my household bills, and if I don't make enough, I have to dip into my savings to cover them for the remainder of my maternity leave. We live in Canada and have the choice of 1 year or 18-month maternity leave. He insists that I take the full 18-month maternity leave to be there for our child. The last 6 months of maternity leave will be unpaid. Note, I do not have access to any of his money and he does not access to mine. I have raised concerns about having another child with him, because I simply cannot afford to cover the bills and not deplete my savings. If I have another child right away, he wants another child ASAP because of my advanced age. He says if I don't want another child, he wants to split all household expenses 50-50. Right now they are about 65-35. Every time we argue, he brings up the fact that he pays more for our household expenses and holds it over my head. I'm kind of stuck in corner and guess I just want to know, is this fair of him to ask this of me?
First comment.
Wait a minute, he makes 10 extra income and takes only an extra 15% of expenses. He wants you to stop working, but to keep paying. You do all the chores. You do. No marriage is a partnership. He seems to treat you as an indentured servant more than a wife. Your relationship needs to be reevaluated. He has to pay and do his part.
Second comment.
Short answer: no. If he wants you to take an 18-month maternity leave, then he needs to 100% cover all the bills. During that 6 months, As for the rest of the time, you shouldn't be doing 50%. You're taking care of the child, that is about the same salary as what he makes, it's worth that much. Therefore, the fact that you don't get a salary and you're dipping into your savings means that he should probably pay 80% to your 20%. He makes 800% more than you do. I get he's a bit fanatical about saving, but he's got to open his eyes. This is not a marriage, this is a transactional relationship where you have to do all the work and pay for half of everything. Also, it's not healthy for him to knock you up immediately. You should wait at least a year. I get you're 40 and it might take a little longer to get pregnant, but you need to talk to your doctor and find out what's realistic in terms of you starting to try again.